I'm watching that open. By the way, congratulations to Hayden Hurst, who uses Red Recover. He is playing really, really well for the Cincinnati Bengals, man. He's actually become a
just
fantasy.
Picked him up for my fantasy team. Just literally picked him up this morning.
Yeah. So he's been doing well. One of our Red Recover guys. All right. A guy that recovers quickly, is Tua Tagovailoa. As much as people talk about, and he has an injury history, I get it. But within 10 months, he came back from a hip surgery that most of us thought maybe was career-threatening. Hell, 5 months in, he was working out in the combine, from that hip. And here he is, as you and Tom Pelissero reported. Listen, I've been targeting him to return for the Steelers game anyways, because that's 24 days off. The optics are beautiful and all that. So him returning today may open up the door for that Pittsburgh game.
Yeah, and here's where this all stands. So Tua is going to practice today. He's going to be on the field. He's going to be throwing. This is all positive. It is a step in the right direction. He is progressing through the NFL's concussion protocol to a point where he can practice. That's all good. He has been, during his time away, has been seeing, some of the top concussion specialists and neuropsychologists just to make sure that he is okay. That is also good news, seeing experts. He is in a good place. He is not expected to play this week. And, there is a chance, actually, that he's cleared this week from the concussion protocol, but he's not expected to play because, basically what he's been doing the last couple of weeks has been a little bit of conditioning, not really in meetings, kind of, on your own, because that's the way it is for the concussion protocol. So the decision was made that it's best that he not play this week. But that he get back on the field if he is allowed, which he is, and continue to progress. So that's kind of where we are just with Tua.
And again, like everything else, all these tests have come out clean all throughout, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and everything's been good. Everything's been, progressing. Tests have been positive. Seeing specialists have been positive. It takes time. That's how the concussion protocol is. But, every benchmark, everything he's had to check, he's hit it, which is great.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where this whole road we get to that fork, because everybody's different. One guy may bounce back right away. Another guy may take a couple weeks. Another guy like Ethan Carter goes on the IR. And what are you going to do? I was talking about this. Think about the way Larry Zonka played the game. He was delivering concussions on almost every play, or he was receiving concussions, in almost every game, the way he was playing the game back in the day. And then you look at him now, and, he has aged beautifully, thank the Lord, and he's still strong as a mule, still the guy that looks like he could carry 4 or 5 guys at the same time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's just weird how everybody is different, and that's why every situation can't be reported, viewed the same way too.
Yeah, and that's why, when talking to Dr. Alan Sills on Saturday as the league was announcing the new changes to the concussion protocol, one of the things he talked about and then also hoped for was a concussion test. There is not a real test for concussions. You can go see an expert and he can ask you questions and he can do a variety of tests, but there's no actual concussion test to say, yes, this person has a concussion. No, this person does not have a concussion. So it is all subjective rather than objective. It is the word of doctors. It is every person being different. Every concussion is different. Every hit is different. So there's so much that goes into it. And, we've been, probably talking about concussions in the spotlight like this for 10 years, and it hasn't become any clearer. It just hasn't. So it's still intrigue. It's still unknown. Obviously great for Tua that he is progressing, but there's still so much we don't know.
Yeah, and listen, here's where this whole thing, now when we get into this conversation and when we get into exercising all of this, the problem with all of this is we have perception, we have reality, and then people choose whatever their perception and their reality is. And then because we just talked about this, every athlete is different. Every human being is different. Yeah. You might get COVID and it goes through you like a cold. I might get COVID and I might be Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction, who has not had taste or smell for a year and a half after having COVID. Yeah, exactly. So you think about that. You got long COVID and another person that went through like a cold. But here's where I feel bad for the medical practice here. Now perception is whatever you look at it and your reality. We now question them if a doctor is clearing somebody too quickly. And yet we're not doctors, but we
You're
have
right,
to
and you're
trust
right.
professionals that if they say somebody is fine, then we have to trust them that they're fine. And if they go and suffer another injury, well, I'm sorry, that's part of the incredibly tough game that they play.
Yeah, and I think that was another thing that Dr. Sills said on Saturday night in this conference call was, we saw a lot of doctors on Twitter, a lot of people who watched TV and decided this happened, this did not happen, you know, this happened for this reason. Like no one really knows. And reality is like I'm not examining Tua, you're not examining Tua, I'm not examining Teddy Bridgewater, you're not either. Until you are a doctor in there, you really don't know. But everyone decided to chime in and not only just say their view, but chime in and rip other people for their views. So there was a lot going on there. I don't know if we learned anything as a society, but it is what it is, and I'm sure the next time will be a lot more calm and objective. Who knows?
Okay, but now we're walking another fine line because when you tell me Teddy Bridgewater, I saw nothing there that said he had a concussion. With Tua, the Buffalo game, it still looked like a concussion. Whether it was his back or not, I don't know, dude. I'm not a pro. I saw him get all bent backwards and one guy holding his ankle so he couldn't get it. So maybe he did twist up his back and a nerve, and who knows? I've had back issues, dude, and they are debilitating. Okay, and when you screw up with that sciatic nerve and all that stuff, that plays games with people. So I've heard all that stuff, but I don't know. Okay, but the problem that we have now is I believe the Dolphins got screwed last week with Teddy. They could have had their backup quarterback for the rest of that game and maybe possibly win that game. And now the league is in a position, it's put itself in a position where now you're making calls that the betting community is going to be affected. Players are going to be affected. They may not be able to win games, get to a playoff game, incentives, records, all kinds of stuff that you're stopping because it's a call that is subjective and one that may not have the full substance to make that call. I guess we all have to play kind of doctor. The Teddy Bridgewater one did not look like a concussion. And then you end up screwing the Dolphins. The Chris Jones play. Now we're going to extreme on quarterbacks here. That was wrong also. That's a game-altering call right there at that moment. So the league is also in a position where it better be careful because you could really stain the game the way you're handling all of this. We talked about this last week, dude. Are you going to stop telling firemen to go into burning buildings? Are we going to stop giving 20-year-olds guns and tell us, "Hey, defend our country"? Are we going to stop telling people to, go the run of the bulls? Race car drivers go 200 miles an hour. There's lots of people that do all kinds of dangerous shit every single day. It's not just football players. So they have chosen this route. So how do we handle this? Because you're walking a fine line right now.
Yeah, I mean, I would say all that stuff sounds way too dangerous for me, but I'm not the one to make the decision, but certainly running of the Bulls seems crazy, and all the other stuff you said seems crazy. The answer to that is yes. I think it does potentially affect the outcome, and I think that the NFL is, okay with that to a certain extent. The reason why is they're going to try to be more conservative than not. If there is a debate over whether a player exhibited ataxia, which is stumbling, a neurological reaction, essentially, they're going to take them off the field, even if they have to err on the side of caution, because these are people's brains, not an ankle or a wrist or something like that. So, if there was, and this one thing Sills said, like if there is a question about whether a player exhibited it, err on the side of caution and take them off the field. Are other people affected? Are gamblers affected and teams affected? Yeah, maybe, but it's a brain, and so for a little.
Is it always the brain? Is it always the brain? If you get hit or walloped, or you had a long run and then they tackle you, and you're winded, and you're going to kind of get up like, Okay, and you gotta that happens to all of us. You're gonna
Right.
you have to kind of gather yourself. Is that gonna be called ataxia too?
I don't think so. I think what they have to decide is that it was a neurological reaction based on a blow to the head. But again, like if it's, it's not going to be perfect and they are going to err on the side of caution. So this is not going to be the last time you'll see someone like Teddy Bridgewater go out because a spotter believes he saw something. But in the grand scheme of things, that's okay because you are protecting players more than you've ever done.
Yeah, I know, but you're ruining the game too, and that's the problem for me. That spotter cost the Dolphins possibly a game this week against the Jets. You keep Teddy Bridgewater in there, maybe you avoid those turnovers in the fourth quarter that absolutely, altered the hell out of that game. All right, let's move on. Davante Adams suspension coming because that was just uncalled for, ridiculous, disrespectful. I could come up with a ton of adjectives to describe how disgusted I am with Davante Adams and how he treats somebody who he thinks is below him, apparently.
Well, it's interesting because I think the first angle all we saw was Davante Adams push this dude who was a credentialed freelance photographer, I believe, for ESPN, but I'm not positive.
Yeah.
And then the second angle, you see, I mean, he's walking up the field, and the guy literally walks right into him. Now, you should not push people. I'm anti-pushing. And, I hope the guy is okay.
Excuse me, it's just fine, dude. Like,
yeah,
pause, excuse. Yo, watch
right.
yourself.
No,
okay,
I definitely get it. Definitely get it. But he's walking off the field. It's 10 seconds after a tough loss. A guy walks in front of him in, the visitors' tunnel, which is an area for players. Again, should not have happened, but is it suspension worthy because a guy walks right into him? I don't know, and I'm sure Davante Adams had literally no idea who the person was who walked into him or why. So we'll see what happens. We'll see if he's suspended or fined or whatever. He is on a bye, so there's no need to do this on a Wednesday. Like, wasn't need to do this yesterday. We can let it play out a little bit, but really curious to see what the NFL ends up deciding here.
Yeah, I would. I think a suspension is worthy of it. Besides, it's only one other. It's another loss he misses. I mean, listen, you're frustrated. You lost. I get it. You made your choice, my brother. You chose money over a better franchise. The Raiders have not been a better franchise than the Packers. You went to your buddy. Okay, he's a terrific quarterback in Derek Carr, but he's not Aaron Rodgers. They're winning and you're not, and you're frustrated because you're 1-4. Don't take it out on that guy, dude. It's like Tyreek Hill. You chose to come here to Miami, right? Even last week you said Miami over New York because I had to make a mature decision for taxes. I have no problem with that. But if somehow Kansas City in the Super Bowl and Miami is, outside of the playoffs, don't complain. You made your bet. Now you got to lie in it. Okay? The good thing is that he's come in with the right attitude and trying to do that. For me, what Davante did this week, that frustration, you don't need to take it out on that guy, dude. That's just, come on, man. That's uncalled for. That part is just crazy. One more thing. Ron Rivera, did he just get to the point where he's like, Dan Snyder, this job, I made the wrong decision with this quarterback. It's almost like, and the poor man's also had to fight cancer too. He's gone through hell and back, and you have to work for that guy and that franchise. I almost feel like it was more than just throwing your quarterback under the bus. It was more about him. I don't know. There's some there. You talk about frustrations. I wonder if there was some there with Ron.
Yeah, and he has addressed the team, and he's talked about how he just basically messed up and kind of said the wrong thing, and that's good. I do think his heart was in the right place. I understand what he was trying to say. You wonder if this is a thing where it's like, do my true feelings come out accidentally, or did I really just make a mistake? I think he made a mistake, but I'm not inside his head, so I don't know. The reality is Carson Wentz, unfortunately, has done what he has always done, which is look totally fine until it's really important and then look not fine. I mean, that was the game on the line about to win, and he made a terrible play and the team lost, which we've seen before. So, and then the problem is they have Taylor Heineke on the bench, who's, is he perfect? Is he like a Pro Bowler? Probably not. He's a good answer. So we'll see what they end up doing, but that was a rough day for Rivera yesterday, no doubt about it.
Yeah, it just looked to me like it was a Freudian slip. That's kind of what it looked like to me, overall. All right. What are you working on the NFL Network, my friend, this week? So
a lot of Dolphins things. A lot of Dolphins things. We're back on game day morning this Sunday because we got no games in London at 9:30, which is good. That's fun, even though the London games are awesome. Couple great games this week. Should be fun.
By the way, the ratings were awesome too for the Giants and the Packers. Highest ratings they've had in London. And nice to see that the commissioner has been said what I've been saying for the last couple of years. Because when people talk about expansion to Europe, I said it ain't going to work unless you put a division out there.
Yeah.
I've always said you got to put a division. Now, I went a little more extreme than he did. I said, you got to put one in London. He said 2 teams in London, but I said London, Paris, Frankfurt, and Barcelona or something like that.
Awesome.
And then what you do is you have one independent practice facility there. So then you have a couple of teams that visit in and they can practice there at that independent facility for a couple of weeks and then travel to London, to Berlin, to Frankfurt, and all that kind of stuff.
I mean, that would be the way to do it. Yeah.
Right. I've been saying that for a couple of years. And what they should have done already that I've said, they got to add a second bye week. So that way, everybody that plays on a Thursday night has a bye week. And that way, the Thursday night game becomes a great game because everybody's well rested before and after that. And so all of a sudden now you've got it, and those second bye weeks will help out those London teams because look at the Giants, dude. They've had to kind of suck it up like the Dolphins did after London, right? They didn't get a break. Am I right? All right. I think so, right?
Yes, I think that's right because they're playing this week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's not fair to them. And so what I'm saying, you got to have that second bye week so we extend the season to 19. And then if you have 4, a division out there, I think it just becomes a lot easier overall. So it's nice to see that. It's coming, right? It's coming, right?
I mean,
eventually.
I would think it'd be awesome. I hope, but we'll see. It's pretty fast. It will be pretty fascinating, no doubt about it.
You're all right reporting from Paris, right? You're all right. I
haven't got to go on any of those international trips, so I wouldn't know. But other people have, and it seems really fun.
There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Rap Sheet, and of course, catch him there doing his thing at the NFL Network. And once a week here with our Red Recover look around the NFL. Ian, thank you as always, my friend. Appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you next week, my man.
You got it. And remember all the wraps you're looking for. Back, shoulders, neck, elbows, knees, ankles. For your dogs. We've got all the wraps, the hat to grow your hair. We've got it. redrecover.com. Use our code Big O. Get 10% off. Start getting pain-free workouts. Use it before and after your workouts. It optimizes your workouts. So your power walking, pickleball, tennis, weights, pickup basketball games, softball games, whatever you weekend warriors are doing, wear the wraps before and after for those old injuries and surgeries. Hell, it can even help your scars disappear. Red light therapy is all natural. There are no side effects, and it's great for everyone, kids, adults, and our pets, which we love a lot. redrecover.com.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.